When the original Prius was launched at the turn of the millennium, many wondered where Toyota was heading with that technology. Sure, it was the first time a mass production vehicle combined gasoline and electric propulsion to increase a vehicle's efficiency, but it was seen as something complicated, expensive, and reserved to only a handful of automobiles. The Prius did really well for Toyota, but it was a very niche vehicle. But as the years went on, Toyota perfected the technology. It integrated it to different vehicles like the Camry, the Highlander, and the RAV4. Ask any cab driver and chances are they'll tell you that the vehicle they prefer driving is either a Camry hybrid or a Prius. I mean, Toyota proved that the hybrid system is not only efficient, it's also really reliable. I once had a ride in a taxi cab in LA that had more than 600,000 miles. Imagine that. That's in miles. That's almost 1,000,000 kilometers. Hybrid technology got so good at Toyota that it trickled it down to more mainstream vehicles. And today, pretty much every single vehicle in its lineup now offers it. Even a base Toyota Corolla. Stuffing hybrid technology in a Toyota Corolla is a big deal. It proves that Toyota's... Really? Some people really don't know how to park. And the worst part is, it's always a beige Corolla. Anyway, stuffing hybrid technology in a Corolla is a big deal because it shows how quickly the technology evolved in only 20 years. This means that it costs a lot less to produce, hence allowing Toyota to sell it at a much more affordable price point. So at this point, you're probably wondering, why am I reviewing a Toyota Corolla when I have the opportunity of driving all the cars on the road? I mean, after a BMW M8 or a Ram TRX, this is a rather boring car. And you'd be right to think it's boring. For automotive enthusiasts like you and I, there's absolutely nothing exciting about a Corolla hybrid. However, it is impressive technology. Nobody wants a Toyota Corolla, but everybody wants to own one. It's no secret that these cars are bulletproof. You are seeing a lot on the road with over 300,000 kilometers on the odometers, and the owners aren't really maintaining them because most of the time, people who buy Corollas are people who either don't have a big budget to buy a car or simply don't want to spend a lot of money on a car. And the Corolla Hybrid simply brings all of that even further. I've been driving this thing all week. We're in early March here in Canada. It's not exactly warm outside. I have the heater on, I have the heated seats as well, and I'm averaging 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers. That's under 6 liters. Even when I floor it, this thing never consumes more fuel. And you can see it right here. You can see how the technology operates. This is essentially the same drivetrain as the Prius. It's taken directly out of the Prius in a standard Corolla. You can see how the entire technology is working right here on the screen. There's a layout. The layout explains it really well. You have the gasoline engine in the front. You have a small lithium-ion battery pack in the rear. Same technology as an electric car, except that the battery is smaller. And then you have one small electric motor squeezed between the gasoline engine and the transmission, and another smaller one that works as a generator. That one will activate certain functionalities on the car. It will also activate the electric motor, all in the goal to reduce the gasoline engine's carbon footprint. It consumes a lot less fuel and it pollutes a lot less. I mean, you're reducing your emissions. Hybrid cars pollute almost half as much as a standard gasoline vehicle. Now, total combined horsepower for this car is not exactly high. You have approximately 130 horsepower. Don't expect this thing to be blisteringly quick. But what's funny is that Toyota gave it drive modes, and I have one mode that's called Power. And I see it right in my dashboard. It says Power. And in Power mode, when you floor it, it's a lot quicker. Not very quick. There's not much going on actually. When you gun the accelerator pedal in a hybrid car, what happens is that the gasoline engine will just rev really high, and it will just basically tell the electric motor, dude, you got to hop in and help me out. We got to get this thing going. There's just a lot happening underneath your seat. But what's beautiful about the technology though is that if you don't know anything about cars, you'll have no idea what's happening underneath you, except for the screen that tells you how the technology is working. All you'll be realizing is that you're saving a lot of fuel. It's also quite quiet. Now, the new Corolla is not as boring as it once was. I mean, this is the most boring trim, but they have some pretty funky models like the XSC and the Apex model. Now, Toyota builds this car on its new TNGA architecture. It's a fantastic platform. It has a much lower center of gravity. Toyota uses this for pretty much all its vehicles now. The Highlander has it, the Camry has it. That Camry TRD, that architecture as well. They even use the platform in some Lexus vehicles. What the hell is this guy doing? God. But while the Corolla Hybrid is no sports car, the driving dynamics are actually not bad. The vehicle feels nice and planted. There's quick, direct steering. I mean, there's body roll, but it's really not as painfully boring and awful to drive as the old generation Corollas. You can tell that Toyota actually put some effort in making this thing drive better than it used to. You're getting a whole bunch of neat technology as standard equipment in this car. I got adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning. I mean, you know, stuff nowadays, air conditioning, heated seats, heating steering wheel, wireless phone charging. That's all expected from a modern car. Considering that Toyota sells this thing for an entry price of $27,000, you're paying almost $5,000 less than a Prius. What's also really cool about the Corolla Hybrid is that nothing about it screams, hey, look, I'm a hybrid. It doesn't look like a spaceship or something special. It just looks like a Corolla. And it's just as practical as a Corolla. You can lower the rear seat. You can fill up the trunk with all your gear. I mean, if you're a student or somebody who's on a low budget, this thing is a no-brainer. It's just a good car. So in terms of technology inside the Corolla Hybrid, it's pretty straightforward. It's not much different than a standard Corolla. However, Toyota does add some fun little gimmicks that allow you to monitor your fuel economy. They actually make it fun. You have what Toyota calls an eco score here in the dashboard, and allows you to see, give you an average of how well you've been doing. You can also monitor everything here in the system. Now, this is a classic Toyota infotainment system. What I find particularly interesting about Toyota is that it changes from one vehicle to the next. So some of them are excellent, some of them need a bit more work. This is kind of in between. You have some physical keys on the side, that's fine. Once you're in it, the touch controls also respond quite quickly. There's a bit of lag, but it's not so bad. What's confusing, however, is that you have a home menu, but also a menu. Menu is the home, and home is something else. It's kind of like a general collection of all your apps that are on here on the screen. When you access the energy monitor, this is where you can see the technology working in real time, but you can also get some information on your latest trips and your history. Now, the history will really show you how good you've been performing in terms of fuel efficiency. If you want, you can be extremely efficient in a Corolla Hybrid, but also be extremely annoying to the other motorists on the road because you'll be driving oh so slow, trying to save some fuel. It actually shows here that the best average this car made was 3.8 liters to 100 kilometers. 3.8. Now that's really fuel efficient. In terms of the buttons down here, again, very subtle, but you have the drive mode button. You also have the EV mode button right here. You can remove traction control. And on the transmission selector, I have the B mode. Now this is regenerative braking, like you get in an electric car. What that'll do is allow the vehicle to slow down without applying the physical brakes. It'll also help recharge the small lithium-ion battery in the rear. For the rest, it's standard Corolla equipment. Seats are comfortable, not great, but they're fine. Sound deadening needs a bit of an improvement. I mean, it's not the quietest car out there on the highway. Material quality is good, however, and build quality is impeccable. That's what you're going to get with Toyota. The cars feel well built. They really, really feel, even brand new, it feels like this thing will last forever, and it probably will. So there you have it. This sums up my 2021 Toyota Corolla Hybrid review. I hope it wasn't too boring to watch. I do my best to make these videos as exciting as possible, even if the cars aren't. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll go back to my daily commute. Oh, really? What the f is this guy doing there again?